Auburn lands Jerrin Thompson, an instant starter for the Tigers.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Joining me as he does every single Tuesday, it is Auburn message board legend and the host of the Button Podcast, Charlie5, the man, the myth, the legend. We'll talk about the offensive coordinator situation at Auburn or lack thereof. We'll also talk about a prized target in the transfer portal. But let's start with the news of the day. Auburn landing safety or defensive back, depending on how you want to categorize him, Jerrin Thompson from Texas. This is a dude who's played a ton of football. He's been pretty effective. Very, very good at stopping the run. Also, I believe has 5 picks to his name. Charlie5, this guy is a starter in the defensive backfield in 2024 for the Auburn Tigers.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. And the biggest thing I feel like that this helps is you add leadership experience.
Sure.
I mean, you're going into next year with a very, very green defensive backfield, especially at safety. I mean, all you have, you're bringing in your JUCO safety, and then you got a bunch of freshmen and redshirt freshmen. So this kid's played a ton of football. He had an interception against Alabama this year. Great. I think he could be. I think he's going to be a starter right away. A lurker type safety, not a guy that's just he's just kind of hang back and pick people off, hopefully. So that's we need experience in the defensive backfield, and I think this kid is going to help right away.
And I love the versatility. I mean, he lined up over 360 snaps at free safety. He lined up at slot corner for over 100 snaps, and he was in the box for over 80 snaps.
Wow.
For Texas this past year. So, I mean, he can do a little bit of anything. I think his true position is safety. I think he could play nickel if he was asked to do that. And I just think, I mean, I guess there's a chance that they know who Auburn's next defensive coordinator is, but we don't really know how the next DC is going to use these defensive backs. So just get guys that are talented and get guys that can do multiple things. And that's exactly what Jerrin Thompson is able to do. You mentioned the veteran. I mean, this guy's played a ton of football, Charlie5. Yep. And so you mix that with some of these young guys that we really, really like. Your Terrence Loves, your Sylvester Smiths, your Colton Hoods. I mean, I think all of these guys in the defensive backfield have tremendous upside. And I think that's why this coaching staff didn't heavily pursue a lot of defensive backs via the portal, because they know, okay, this is when they need to start really stepping up. And I think Auburn's going to be okay playing young a little bit in 2024 because it's all about the future of this program. But getting a guy like Jerrin Thompson, an instant starter in your defensive backfield, there's just so many things to love about it.
Big time a stopgap, I guess. I think we're
sure.
1 year away from, barring obviously you losing a bunch of kids to the portal or whatever. Right. 1 year away from really being able to start rolling these mature high school, highly rated defensive backs that you're bringing in year after year. Your Sylvester Smiths and your all those guys. Those guys are going to be ready, but this is just a help them bridge that just a little bit. They're going to still get a ton of playing time. This guy can't play all the snaps. Right. This is a good. Perfect bridge. A guy that's played a ton of football that room just does not have anymore. After you lose your guys like Jalen Simpson and dudes like that to graduation in the NFL. So big addition. Cannot sell it. You can't oversell it. I mean, it's absolutely huge, and he's a quality guy too.
All right, are you buying or selling that Auburn's starting safeties this season are Jerrin Thompson and Laquan Robinson, the JUCO safety? Are you buying that?
I could, yeah. I think you could. That could very well happen. I feel like some of these guys that are on the roster are going to have a lot to say about that. But
Sylvester Smith, man, that is my guy this offseason. I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be him. I really believe that.
He is one to watch for sure. Because he wants to. I think this guy's going to. really fight for big time playing time. So now you got some competition, you got some seniority, you have some young, super athletic guys, you got a JUCO guy that's got a lot of experience. I think all of a sudden that safety room feels a lot better because it was kind of one of those scary spots a little bit, mostly just because of the unknown.
Yeah, right. And I was thinking about this, a year or so ago, we were so excited about all of these defensive backs that we flipped, that Hugh Freeze and the staff were able to flip in just a short amount of time, like your Tyler Scotts, your Kayan Lees. And this is now when we should be excited about those moves. And it's like, it's cool to be excited at that time, but you're not really going to see the benefits of that until now, because all of a sudden, like, it is a deep room. The upside in that room is tremendous, but it's unproven. Unproven. I think those bowl practices and those game reps against Maryland are going to pay dividends. Sure. It was a brutal first half, and that's certainly a game that I think Auburn feels like they should have won. But, man, those guys now know what to expect, and this coaching staff knows what to expect when they put these guys. Yeah, they've got tape going into spring. And so I think that's going to be huge as well. And then, you couple that with Jerrin Thompson, who's got a ton of tape and experience operating in that Texas defense. There's just a lot to like about this. We talked about it a little bit when Auburn landed Percy Lewis, the transfer offensive tackle from Mississippi State. That's good, one, because you get a pretty solid left tackle, but also it allows you to scoot Dylan Wade down to be, the left guard. I think it's a similar situation with Jerrin Thompson. I think you put him at safety. That then allows you maybe to build depth in the safety room. But hey, maybe it allows you to keep Caleb Wooden at nickel instead of having to put him at safety sometimes. I think it allows you just to kind of everybody else to slot back one spot. And I think that could be extremely valuable, especially for some of these young guys.
I mean, I could not agree more. It's when you're building, when you're taking over a program and you're starting to build. I feel like those first two defensive back classes, the last year's class and then this year's class, are extremely, extremely talented. Yeah. And then you don't have to throw them into the wolves. You got this guy just gives you so much more flexibility to be able to bring those guys along slowly. And then next year, pedal to the metal. You got two stacked classes plus whatever you bring in 2025 ready to go, and you may not need to go get guys out of the portal. And how cool would that feel to not have to do that?
I think we're close to that point. And
way closer than I imagined.
Yeah. And when folks said, in year 3 he wants to kind of lean himself off the portal, I was like, really? But now I kind of see it. See it.
The pathway is there.
Yeah, I think you're going to need some position groups a year from now via the portal, but for the most part, I think you're going to be able to use the portal the way it's kind of designed, is you kind of use it to fill a few stopgaps. All right, let's assuming Auburn goes into the spring with just this roster. There's a few things we'll talk about, some things that could potentially change in the next segment here, but if you had to predict the starters going into spring in the defensive backfield, here's what I'm going with. Your corners, your outside corners, your Kayan Lee and Keontae Scott. Any argument there? We're good.
No argument.
Your starting safeties, I'm gonna go with the ones I just told you. Jerrin Thompson, the new transfer from Texas, and Laquan Robinson, the JUCO product. I'm going with those two guys, and then I guess at nickel, I'm going with Caleb Wooden at nickel right now.
I'm cool. I'll be totally fine with any of that. The only thing I think I might switch up is I just think that second safety spot is going to be a big time competition. And then maybe
who would you say the second safety spot is? Are you saying Jerrin Thompson is the first safety?
Yeah, I feel like that's going to
second.
I feel like that's going to be locked in, and then Robinson and a Sylvester Smith or a Colton Hood or whoever could battle there. And then for nickel, I don't know. I think I still feel towards the end of the and we're going to talk about it in the next segment, but I still feel maybe by the end, right before kickoff, I think Keontae Scott may end up back at nickel. I think it just makes the most sense. It makes the most sense.
Yeah. You got to get another corner. Could Auburn be getting another corner soon? We discuss in just a moment. Right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Jace Medical. Jace Medical knows that you come to sports to escape the craziness of real life. But let's just talk for a minute about preparing for real life. According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. Obviously, that can be scary. You want to make sure that you and your family are prepared. The Jace case can help you do that. The Jace case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illness, including respiratory infections, skin infections, among others. This stuff could happen to any of us. So visit jacemedical.com, complete your physician encounter, and it'll be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed at a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. So go to jacemedical.com and use code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. Charlie5, our guest on this Charlie Tuesday. All right.
Cold outside.
Auburn appears to be the favorite to land former Alabama corner Antonio Kite.
Yep. I want to say Kite just because I don't know why. Because of
Messiah last year. Right.
But yeah.
This guy is a very good corner. He is very good at what he does. And what he does is he plays defensive back at a very, very high level. And if you add him, which it seems like this could happen soon. Seems like it could happen soon, Charlie5. So if this were to happen, I think you have to go to Keontae Scott and say, look, we got to put this guy on the outside. You're really good in the middle of the field. This is the best thing for the defense. And then all of a sudden, if you were able to add Antonio Kite with a combination of Jerrin Thompson, I mean, it just totally changes the outlook. Totally changes the outlook of this defensive back room, which I already liked.
Oh man, I would be extremely happy if this thing goes official and we actually do land Antonio. I mean, you're talking a guy that would have been our highest rated commit of the 2022 class, a high 4-star kid from Anniston, in-state, long corner, 6'1", long corner. He redshirted his first year. I think he played sparingly last year, but I mean, it's Alabama. They're deep. They have players like this that could step in and start at multiple schools. I mean, it could possibly happen today. Like it may be by the time you're listening to this, it could possibly be public. I mean, you said you think it could happen fast. Well, it really doesn't have an option. It's got to happen fast if it's going to happen, because the 17th, which is Wednesday, is the last day to enroll in classes tomorrow. So it's got to either pop today or tomorrow, and he's got to enroll, or Auburn's not really going to be a option unless he waits until the summer. So would love to add, I mean, if you add this guy and Jerrin Thompson, you feel incredible. You feel incredible about the defensive backfield, the defensive back room from safety to corner. You got versatile, talented guys. Like you're not starting dudes that where you just feel like you have a gaping hole or a weakness. And that is super exciting. You got somebody that's so good that could possibly convince Keontae Scott he needs to be back at nickel. You don't necessarily have to pull him out to play outside corner. And holy cow, what a luxury that would be. Coming off what I feel like we had a very deep and very talented defensive backfield, you may put out one that's possibly on paper more talented than the one we just had. So from like a recruiting rankings perspective, so very excited. I really hope we can seal the deal on this one. And like I said, hopefully by the time you're listening to this, he's already enrolled and moved in and on the roster.
Yeah, that'd be insane. Do you think there's any symbolism in this? I mean, he's one of the several Alabama players that entered the portal after Alabama hired Kalen DeBoer from Washington. And it kind of seems like Alabama's a little vulnerable right now. You've got five-star receivers, multiple five-star receivers decommitting. You have proven guys entering the transfer portal. And if Auburn were able to go in and get some of those guys, you talk about Antonio Kite, Obviously, they're all over the recruitment of Ryan Williams, who decommitted after Nick Saban announced his retirement. Like, I don't know, man. I think all of this is symbolic, and I think this is stuff that matters.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, those kids committed to play for Nick Saban. They signed, they went to Alabama to play for Nick Saban because, he can, quote unquote, get you to the NFL, whatever.
He led them astray, by the way. Like, I mean, nobody really wants to talk about it, but like, I think it's a little messed up that he waited till all these kids signed. And then he's like, yeah, I'm actually going to retire.
Yeah, I mean, and the timing of that whole situation was genius, by the way. If you really look at when he announced it and how hard it makes it for everybody else to leave, but
he wanted to keep him there for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and I get it. You don't want to leave Alabama completely high. You don't want to leave them completely high and dry, but adding anytime you can add a high level player and you see defensive guys want to leave when you bring in an offensive coach. I mean, it does mean it means that the luster of just being on the roster at Alabama lost quite a bit. You lost quite a bit of luster on that, just being on that roster. So, and then when you see, hey, I'm just going to go to the place maybe I wanted to go to all along now because, Saban's gone. So I'm just going to go to Auburn. So,
sure. Let me ask you this. If I can put my tinfoil hat on just for a second and ask this question.
All right.
Let's assume Auburn is close to landing Antonio Kite. They just landed Jerrin Thompson. We've seen them land other players on the defensive side of the ball recently with a Trill Carter. Do you think these guys are just coming to Auburn not knowing who the DC is? Or do you think there's a chance that they're telling them this is going to be the DC, he's just not here yet?
Well, all right. So I think that could possibly be a little bit of a two-part question, or like a 1A, 1B type question. So yes, there's a piece to that where I think they're probably coming. They got an idea of who they're going to get, but also you have a co-DC in place already with Charles Kelly, who has familiarity with Nick Saban's system, who has familiarity with DBs. Notice you got DBs coming in. He's a DB guy. That's kind of his thing.
Sure.
And you also have obviously Wesley McGriff back in the fold. So yes, that it's a very possible that they have an idea of who they want and they're selling that, but it's also, probably a little comforting that you already have your co-DC in place and you have a very seasoned defensive backs coach paired up with him. And then you're bringing in two, hopefully, at least one and hopefully two DBs. So I think that you could say yes and no to that question. So, but regardless, you're hopefully going to get both of them. And it makes that defensive backfield so much more exciting, so much less stressful thinking about going into the year.
Yeah, that's a great answer. That is not the direction I thought you were going to go with that, but it makes perfect sense. I love the Charles Kelly insight on that. All right. Is Derek Nix still on the table to be Auburn's next offensive coordinator? We discuss in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Charlie5, I'm going to bring you back in. Can you imagine a better place to bet on sports than FanDuel Sportsbook?
I cannot. I can't. It would be crazy. It'd be absolutely crazy.
There's not one.
There's
not one. Right now.
I like, real quick, yes. I know you got a scheduled read, but I love the different categories and all the different options that it has to bet. You can do daily fantasy. You can get in the sports book if your state allows it. And then there's tons of props and things like that. It's just, man, it's
what's your
awesome
favorite type of prop to bet on at FanDuel?
So I always like over under passing yards for quarterbacks because I feel like you can kind of get an idea based off of, you can look at weather, you can look at defenses and things like that. And I don't know, that's one that I always have a lot of fun with.
Well, right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. We're going to put FanDuel out of business with all this money that they're just giving away. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to make your first bet a layup. FanDuel's the official partner of the NFL and the Locked On Podcast Network. Is Derek Nix still on the table to be Auburn's next offensive coordinator? This has been weird. The timing of this has been really strange. There is starting to be more and more that comes out of it. I still believe Auburn will land Derek Nix, despite Lane Kiffin tweeting out a picture of him saying he's not at Auburn football. People quit calling me, whatever. It does still sound like Auburn and Derek Nix are talking, though, Charlie5.
Yeah, you can tell because Lane Kiffin can't stop tweeting about it. He can't stop tweeting at Auburn. So that to me tells me for sure that that the conversations are ongoing in the different ways and the messaging that he's had when he tweets. It's clear that it's in his head, and he's I don't all of a sudden it's like, hey, let's prove to everybody that we're I guess a better program at the moment than Auburn. I don't really know, but he can't stop tweeting about Auburn.
Yeah. I mean, it took everything they had to beat a rebuilding Auburn team, but whatever.
And he got fought by Harsin.
He lost to Brian Harsin.
Yeah.
That's a great point. I hate that we don't play them this year. I hate that we don't play Ole Miss. I hate that we don't play LSU. Like, it's weird. It's gonna be a weird season.
It is weird. It is very weird. But I don't.
But yeah, Derek Nix. I mean, it sounds like some technicalities of the contract came out. I've seen that a few different places. Charlie5. So that explains like the holdup, assuming Derek Nix is interested in this job, which I believe that he is. And we'll see exactly what transpires. I think sometime this week is a reasonable timeline for an announcement on Derek Nix.
Yeah, I mean, again, you could when you're listening to this, it could be out that he's.
Oh, you think it's quickly? You think it could be? It could be.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty quick, and I do still think it's going to be Derek Nix. I just think there's just the wording of, will he call plays or won't he call plays? Like if that's
offensive coordinator in name only.
Contractually, I have no idea how you enforce that. Like I have absolutely no idea. Like, what do you give Lane Kiffin the headsets and like he gets to check how many plays Derek Nix called, and like there's a percentage where he's considered a play caller, and there's a percentage where he's not. Like I just don't understand how you how you can enforce that. And you know what? This is a dude trying to get a promotion. This is a guy, and Lane Kiffin, who's Mr. I'm here for everybody, Mr. Mental health champion. Like this whole thing about I'm here for everybody. I'm holding this guy back from getting a promotion. And maybe a pay raise.
Just to clarify, so I don't know if you wanted to go that direction or not, but it sounds like you're okay with it. So it sounds like the big holdup is Derek Nix can't leave that job for an offensive coordinator in name only situation.
Well,
so it sounds like that's going to be something that is discussed deeper, which could be why it's taken so long.
Well, this is exactly what happened last year. If you remember, we tried to get Derek Nix, I think, as wide receivers coach, and the terminology in the contract was he could not leave to be he either had to be calling plays or it had to be a promotion. And I think last year it was just wide receiver coach to us wide receiver coach. We're going to have to pay his buyout.
Yeah, like a lateral move or whatever.
Yeah, that wasn't necessarily allowed. And then this year we're trying to work it to where we're giving him a promotion, and the wording or technicalities in the contract seems to be what's been the holdup. So at this point, I say let's just let it rip and then just dare him to do something about it.
Yeah. Once again, I don't know how you enforce that. Like they're all in the headset together. Like how are you tracking all of that? So I mean, we follow the team like crazy. We weren't ever positive when Hugh was calling the plays. Like how is Lane Kiffin going to do that when he's worried about other things? It's very strange.
Yeah,
very strange.
I agree.
Is he just being petty? Like, is this fun? Is that why he's tweeting at Auburn and they're talking about freeze warnings from their official like Ole Miss football account? And it's like you could win the next 23 games and we still have a winning record against you.
Yeah, like this is the best stretch in the history of your school and the worst stretch in the history of our school, and you still lost a game to us. Like
I just can't imagine winning 10 games and you're like, this is the best year in school history. Get over yourself.
I saw a funny meme and it said trophy case before Lane Kiffin got here, and it's trophy case after Lane Kiffin got here, and it's the same trophy case. It's empty. Picture. It's empty. But that's the pinnacle. This is the pinnacle of Ole Miss right now. So it can't get any better than this. Who's got it better than them? Nobody now.
Then Quinn Judkins left.
They may be relieved on that one, though. I think he was kind of a turd from what I understand.
Oh, really? I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, it sounds like he was a problem. I think so bad that Dart had asked him to come out of games at some point, like take him out of the game.
Oh, my goodness. I missed that. Interesting.
Yeah. So, but still, he's going to do.
He's still good. He's still very good.
Very talented. Yes.
Yeah.
But hopefully hopefully the Derek Nix saga is over soon, and he can start hitting the ground running, recruiting, and helping build this offense for 2024. Because it just in general with Hugh running it, you got to feel more excited, and
no question.
And I know the skill guys are excited. So get him here and let's get going.
All right, Charlie5, how can people check out everything that you've got going on?
Absolutely. Find me on Twitter at @the_Charlie_5 in the Locked On Auburn Discord. Every single day are Tuesdays and Thursdays, the Top Button Podcast.
The Top Button Podcast. You can just search Top Button Podcast on your favorite podcasting app, or you can go to the Auburn Daily YouTube page. That link is in the episode description down below. Charlie5, thank you for your time as always, my friend. You can read all of my written work at auburndaily.com. Please click that subscribe button. Please like the video. We'll see you tomorrow. This has been Locked On Auburn.